I think first and foremost, a couple of things. When the MPP says we spend about, you know that it's far higher than what they are saying. I'm sure listeners and viewers will recall many instances, for example, the banking bailout, where they started with, we spent about 15 billion, then it went to 19 billion. After the last time when IMF forced them to come clean before they would give us a deal, that was around the first quarter of last year, they said, it's now about 26 billion roughly and rising. Trust me, by the time this government is thrown out and the NDC comes in and opens the books, you will find that it's pushing for 30 billion cedis and above. And so when the person comes to say, about $12 million, the reality of the matter is that this is not like a small change. Now you say, it's roughly about 75 pesos. No, this is a huge amount of money that should stick in on your frontal loops at all points in time. It is not possible that they don't know the exact amount. So first and foremost, I must say with clear conviction that I believe that the money they have spent is more than the $12 million. That's first and foremost. The second thing is this. What business do we have spending money on a deal that has not been firmed and finalized, that has so much controversy around it, and it has been subjected to a court hearing at the ECOWAS court? There was a lot of demonstration. There was a huge, large section of parliament that was against it. Ghanaians were generally against it. It was very clear that that so-called Agyapa deal was dead on arrival. So whoever was authorizing these fully knew that these expenses were going to be expenses in vain, and has clearly, in my mind, committed what Kufuor put there as what causing financial loss to the state, which must be looked at the right time when the NDC is in power, comes back to power from January 2025. Now, to the specific question you have asked.
Before you go, before you answer my question, you are saying that based on what was happening at the time, they were not even supposed to have made these expenditures.
Absolutely. Because it was very clear the matter was already had been taken to court. Parliament was strongly pushing against it. Ghanaians were generally pushing against it. Though that stinking deal was in its last legs. Now let's be very, 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 very clear. This government money, it's not money that you play cha-cha with. And that's what whoever incurred this $12 million expenditure did. Because when things are not very clear, you shouldn't go about spending money. It should be very clear, the path should be very clear for you to even spend even $1 on it, because we are broke and we need all the money. And so, in my mind, there is no doubt that whoever was spending this money was spending it clearly to line their pockets and the pockets of their cronies. And I believe that when the NDC comes and do a forensic audit of our debt, and we go into this particular 12 million, you will find those people who were behind it. I can say without fear of contradiction that we were very clear there was a South African firm linked to it, with their local partners being the law firm. Watch this piece. There is every likelihood that some money may have passed through there. But when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But there's no doubt in my mind that whoever spent this money, don't be surprised that they probably even paid some of this money after the deal was suspended. Let's make sure they still make something out of it. That much I am clear in my mind. Now to the question you ask. Typically, an IPO will cost you nowhere, once you are done and fully floated, it should cost you somewhere between 4 to 7% of the value of whatever you are floating. That is the typical situation. That is number one. Number two, all the guys who are brokering this, leading on this IPO, including your underwriting fees and all that stuff, you tend to pay a lot of these. Okay, you sign the contract and then you keep paying, you pay them. By the time you're done, you're looking at the cost average between 4% upwards. Here we are, where we have spent $12 million and counting. $12 million is roughly about 2.4, 2.5% of the $500 million that we were going to go and put on the stock exchange. So without even starting proper work, we have already spent 2.5%. So we were supposed to spend 4% by the time the deal was over. We have already spent more than half of that when the work was done. It's not even 2%. So you can see clearly, I think this was another Yenchen thing. It was a cooked deal. You know, let's be realistic. How is it that you apply for a product, you haven't even started enjoying the services, you've already paid more than 50% of the fees, and then you come back and tell us that's how much we spent on it? I can only say the devil is in the detail. I would have expected the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee to ask the gentleman to bring a full breakdown of how much was paid, what it was for, and who received that money, and who signed that. Because people like that should not be let. Whoever signed the payment of these monies must be hauled over the coals, because they are first financial loss to the state. Whichever firms were involved in collecting such monies must be proscribed by government of Ghana from ever dealing with Ghana, whether they are legal firms, they are financial brokerage firms, and so on and so forth. Because sometimes some of these deals, they claim we even sign almost a deal of what? If you don't complete, you get nothing. And the conditions that are, the fees that they will charge is based on the solid work done. What we want to know is who did what work and how much was paid to them for what work was done to amount to $12 million. To put it in context, that's 150 million Ghana cedis. At the current exchange rate of about 12.45 thereabouts, just multiply 150 million Ghana cedis paid to somebody for no clear work done. That, in my mind, is not only criminal, but it's fraudulent.
So, per your understanding, we hadn't gotten to the point where they should have started paying fees?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, because the deal, it had already been announced. What work had been done? You know, you hadn't even got about getting, because as we all know, this was a deal that had been announced, had gone to Parliament for one reason or the other, was going back for one reason or the other. So an agreement has not yet been made. You know, you haven't even made an agreement. You're going to buy a house. Then you go start discussing with the estate agent. And then you have not even finished the full terms of this is the kind of house I want, this is when I want it, this is how I want it. Boom. He sends you a bill for the whole house. Or he sends you a bill for just talking to you. How does that work? Now, the devil is in the detail. What deals like this, and there are many of them in this government. The NDC, when we come to power on 7th of January 2025, we have to make sure we set up a debt, not just a debt commission, but a team to forensically audit these, understand who collected the money, when did they get the money, was after it was suspended or before, for what work did they get the money, and the deal that was signed with them to give them that money, was it value for money? Was it competitive in line with international standards on charging? And if it is not, test must go. Because if we don't do this, other governments, whether under NDC or subsequent administrations, will take advantage of doing what these people do well. Sign a contract, and even when it's pulled out, still pay money. That cannot be allowed to happen.
The request that you said the Public Accounts Committee should make was made on the day. In fact, they requested that they should give them a documentation of who the money was paid for, why they were paid. But considering they were talking about consultants for an IPO and then renting office space, does this money not add up? Because we understand that spaces in the UK are quite expensive. So if you put a consultant, hire a consultant and the space in the UK together and Ghana, $12 million, that doesn't sound so much, does it?
Sir, I think that particular line is a very wicked lie. Let me tell you why. If government of Ghana just hired KPMG to go and audit the SML deal, did government of Ghana pay for the offices of KPMG? Every consultant has an office they are based from and they work for. So you don't hire a consultant and pay for their office.
So actually, they say the office space was going to accommodate the Agyapa royalties.
They say this is the funny part. The Agyapa royalties was going to be listed on the London Stock Exchange and a few exchanges. It doesn't need a residence. It's not like Ghana Stock Exchange. Or they want to tell me that Guinness Ghana Limited listed on Ghana Exchange, Ghana Stock Exchange. Therefore, Guinness Ghana Limited shares must get a house where they will sleep. The shares will sleep, they wake up, bath, and go into the market and sell themselves. You see where it doesn't make sense? You and I decide to go and buy shares from Accra Breweries Limited. Will we go looking for where the shares of Accra Breweries Limited is? It doesn't make sense.
But when they were forming Agyapa royalties as a company sort of to be responsible for that special purpose vehicle, do they not need an office?
They don't need an office. Even if you need an address, government of Ghana has got many options. But sometimes your consultants will use their own address. You do not need a physical space to have that address. And there is nothing wrong, unless they want to tell me that all the companies across the globe, Rio Tinto, Guinness, based in Ireland, all the big Ashanti Gold, if your shares are even Anglo Gold Ashanti, shares are listed on London Stock Exchange, like New York Stock Exchange, do they have offices in each of those to accommodate that? Even if you want to do the rental of an office center, it will even cost you $100,000 in the period they are talking about. We live in this country. We know how much commercial space is actually cheaper than residential space. Unless you are even hiring a high block of what do you call it, offices. And if you are hiring that number of offices, for what? You will not even spend $100,000 in the period that they are talking about. So all that they have said, they're just making excuses. We are waiting for the details to come out. We will follow up and cross-check wherever they say you went and highlighted. I promise you this. We will follow up to that same place and offer to go around the same place and see the code that we will get and bring it up. It doesn't make sense. Shares are not physical assets. It's like telling me that I come and win a bank account, you have got Sena Bank, Sena and Sans Bank. When I open a bank account with you, I need to use an address. Therefore, I'll go and rent a house just to put that address in. Has government of Ghana got an embassy here? Have we not got various houses in London here that we can use for Ghana business? It doesn't make sense. This is just a tool they are telling us. And I hope that Public Accounts Committee will dig into it and dig straight through to the end. Whoever is responsible for such deals, they must be held to account.
But how essentially do we do with this? Because this is not the first time this has happened. I was just talking about side train matter, where I think it's about some $2 million. They're still trying to recover that. And then this one to $12 million spent already. This looks like money that has gone down the drain that might never be recovered. How do we tackle all this to ensure that we don't spend this kind of money on things that, we like you said, we haven't firmed up yet?
It's a simple thing, my brother. Even Abacha's billions have been largely recovered. All that you need is a government with the appetite. And I believe that President Mama and the incoming NDC have that appetite to go after anyone and everyone involved in all shady deals. No sacred cow should exist. Look, at West, there are a lot of international lawyers and finance houses that offer services to go after such monies, retrieve them at a fee, even if it's 5%. I would rather that you retrieve $2 million and keep 5% and give me the rest. 5% of $2 million, roughly $100,000. At least we keep the 1.9. I would rather that they go after this 12 billion and they retrieve them. But if there is no valid case for it and there's corruption, the accomplices in Ghana must be punished. People like this, we shouldn't be saying what happened to them. But straight away, anyone in this form should be taken charge of, proper custody if needs be, proper investigations. We can't allow all 2 million here, 12 million here, 100 million here with SML, this million. These guys are thieves in dollars. They no longer steal in local currency, even when they're stuffing it under their beds. And Ghanaians will be angry with the NDC if we come in and play Farmer Nyami. Time for Farmer Nyami is over. The time for accountability is now. There is no more we are brothers in this. This is Ghana that these people are looting. They have finished all the meat. They have licked the bone clean. They are now even crushing the bone to get the marrow in it. We can't let this happen. A precedent must be set. All the crooks involved in such deals must be all over the coals. They shouldn't just be locked. The money must be retrieved. and the assets frozen serve as a deterrent to future potential crooks or people who are even thinking about enriching themselves at the expense of the public purse.
Well, before I let you go, one other issue, because yesterday, and I'm sure you've heard by now that there was a reshuffle. One of the things we've spoken about consistently was the continuous state. Of course, even the Minerals Income Investment Fund did this on the instructions of the finance minister. Yesterday, at least, the president decided that he should go and has decided to put in his stead Dr. Amin Adams. That should be good news.
That is another Sakawa move. The man has been relieved, but then put in the back door as some investment advisor, some advisor on the economy. Somebody literally has put your patient who came into the hospital with a simple headache into coma. And then you leave him and put another consultant in front to treat this patient. But take the same guy that put the patient in coma to be the key consultant for this other doctor to treat them. Where does that make sense? You are rewarding the guy who crashed the economy with the consultancy rule. The guys are so greedy that even after all that he has stolen for you and his data bank, he doesn't want to let go. So he's going to stay behind so that any deal will go through. Trust me, the new finance minister is just a puppet. He's just a kettle. The real man pulling the strings behind is going to continue to do Korea. And to talk about all these new appointees, notice something curious. All of them, most of them, 80% of them are fighting parliamentary seats. Some of them have never been ministers before. They're not making them a minister less than 10 months election. They don't even have 6 months to embed and understand what to do before they will make any impact. There is only one explanation to this. Nanado did not do a reshuffle for Ghana. What he did was to do musical chairs to move those who will contesting parliamentary seats into ministerial portfolios with access to ministerial resources so that they can yet they squander those resources, use their ministerial VAs, use their ministerial resources to fight to win their parliamentary seats. That is it. He hasn't done this for good governance. He has simply done it. You notice some people who for the last 7.5 years have not even got a simple appointment, not even board appointment in this government, suddenly been pushed into government because they want a parliamentary primaries for the MPP. All he has done is now I've given you a ministry, the resources at your beck and call, all the vehicles in the ministry, the money there, help yourself to it and use it to try and win your parliamentary seats. So Ghanaians should not be deceived. This shuffle is a Trojan horse. When we open it, you will see all the Greeks in there. So I'm not convinced at all. It is a Sakawa move. We should not even think about wasting our time to talk about it. They are there to root for the purposes of winning their seats. Nothing more, nothing less.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. But before you go, there's a question that's been asked by Nana Kofi in East Legon. In fact, I would have struggled to made my best attempt to answer it. But since you're on the line, I think you are better at it than me. He's asking, what is an IPO?
Oh, it's basically what you call an initial public offering. So when you want to float your shares or a fund, so let's say you have a company, you form a company, and you have built the company, and say the company is now worth, say, 100 million Ghana cedis. And you now decide that, you know what, I own all of this 100 million Ghana cedis. It's locked in the company. I want some money in my pocket. So I want to sell half of the company to the market. So you take the 100 million, split it into shares. Let's say each share is worth 1 cedi. So you take 50 million of those shares and go to the stock exchange and say, can you put this on the market there so that people who are interested in buying can come and buy? Now, the first time you go and put the shares there, it's called initial public offering. You are offering the shares to the public. And the first time you do it is the initial time you're doing it. That's why it's called an initial public offering, an IPO. You can do that on the fund that the Agyapa fund that we're talking about. In simple terms, that is what we call an IPO.